Zainab Ismail in studio. Indeed, I am at the Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, where the International Film Convention 2017 for the very first time is in Nairobi. And I have to tell you, without a doubt, something big has indeed come to Kenya. And so for the very first session, we are able to hear from a couple of keynote speakers from the French delegation, from the CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, Mr. Ezekiel Mutua himself. Members of the cabinet secretaries were here with the likes of Joe Musheru, the CS for IT, the likes of Hassan Wario, the CS for Sports, Arts and Culture. And so something that I have gotten from the speeches that they were having today is that it is time for Kenya to tell its stories. And we have to note with a lot of concern that cinemas and theater hold 30% of the market share. So for the next 2 days, it's an opportunity for local, regional, and international institutions in the audiovisual visual industry, and the film industry, together with cinematographers, to interact and see the way forward to boost Kenya's film industry. And at this particular point, I am joined by an array of high-profiled members of the film industry, starting with the Kenya Film Classification Board CEO Ezekiel Mutua. Thank you so much for speaking to Ebru TV.
Thank you.
So for the first question, for those people who are out there don't know what is happening right here, what would you say?
First of all, could I have the honor of introducing my chair, Madam Gathoni Kungu, and the chair of the Kenya Film Commission, Mr. Chris Foot, and of course the legendary Oliver Litondo. And it's a pleasure to have all these great minds together. So I can now take your question, and then you can as well ask the people who have spoken. I was just hosting the meeting.
All right.
Yes.
For the purposes of the Mwananchi, or maybe the people who are interested in filmmaking out there, what would you say this convention will do for them?
I would say actually the fact that we are standing here with the chair of Kenya Film Commission, with Oliver Litondo, and with the chair of the Kenya Film Classification Board, and myself, is just a classic example of what really we intend this to achieve. Bringing together the industry, bringing together the government, the regulators, the film developers, and the players themselves, and ensure that we have a meeting of the minds. For far too long, we've been speaking, throwing stones at each other. And I think what this does is to instead bring us together and say, let us look at the things that bring us together and bind us, and exploit our potential by harnessing the great creativity that is here in Kenya, harnessing the infrastructure that is there in Kenya in terms of ICT, and also working together to ensure that film policies that are in place or that are required to be put in place are put in place so that we can make Kenya a competitive filming destination. Ideally, we are saying, as we promote our culture, like the chairman of Kenya Film Commission has put it, we need a balance. And we need to have a unique model that is speaking to Kenyan realities. For far too long, we are picking patchwork of cultural issues and regulatory issues from other jurisdictions. For the first time, we are saying this region is so rich, we have so much potential. Our diversity, our cultural heritage and diversity, the numbers in the East African region, our fauna and flora, the beautiful landscapes in this country, we turn that into a competitive advantage and focus the cameras on the things that matter. In fact, that's another one of the important things why we thought this meeting is important. That for far too long we are focusing on politics and giving the cameras to guys who are just painting the country wrongly. We want the cameras to turn to the film industry. That's why we are so happy to have all the stakeholders who are here. So one, it's about networking. Number two, co-productions. Number three is about harmonizing policies within the region and ensuring that if filmmakers are licensed in Kenya, they are able to do business in Uganda, in Tanzania, and vice versa. We are bringing all these minds together, plus Hollywood, French, Nollywood, so that we can also benchmark and see what is best for our realities and what is best for the Kenyan market.
All right.
Yeah.
And I can see Mr. Oliver Litondo is right here with us. You can just come closer. Zainab Ismail and our esteemed viewers, if you have watched the movie, The First Grader, based on a true story about an old man who went back to Standard 1, who went back to primary school just to get an education. Very many thanks for joining us, sir, on Ebru TV, and it's quite an honor to have met you. What do you feel about this day today?
I think this day is a great day. It is a day that we in Kenya will remember. It's a day that reminds Kenyans of the fact that the film industry is an industry. For too long, Kenyans have looked at creators, people who create, people who act, people who sing, people who play, people who dance as non-entities. I think it's about time to remind ourselves that this industry has made countries like the USA, countries like France, countries like Britain to be what they are. They have made those countries what they are. For too long, Kenyan story has been told in the minds and the mouths and the words of non-Kenyans through the films they have made here. It is about time that we told our own story. I believe that the African continent still has a story to tell the world. Hollywood is now jumping into the Star Wars, going into outside the realm of human beings because they don't have stories. We have stories. Africa is the home of humanity. Man and woman started here. Man and woman started telling the world the stories here. Why don't we come back and tell those stories through our films? So this is a day that reminds us of the origin of man, woman, the origin of the real story, the origin of the story that reverberates across the world from Kenya to Africa to the world. So it's a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And for the purposes of time, I'll just do the last interview. I would just want you to tell us and tell the viewers, what do we expect? Because I feel this is big. What do you expect for the next 2 days?
Well, for the next 2 days, we are hoping that by the end of those 2 days, that policies and agreements will have been formed, co-productions, not only just talking, but projects will have started, dates will have been formed. We're hoping that by 2018, as CS Dan Kazungu openly shared, that we'll be able to hold the Cannes and the Oscars in Africa, in Kenya, in Malindi. Right. So those are conversations that we're hoping that by the end of the 2 days, instead of just having conversations, but we'll have benchmarked with the French and with the other industry players that we've invited, and we can be able to start and birth projects from this particular 2-day convention.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, you've had it. The Oscars, the Grammys are coming to Kenya very soon, courtesy of this particular convention, the International Film Convention 2017.